This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Patrick. This is Kevin. And is that Spiderman in your hands?
This is Spiderman.
Woohoo!
So a little while ago, the girls got me Spiderman, and they want Spiderman to represent me saying hello to them in every show. And so that way I'm not like, hey, Arya and Nora, at the beginning of every show, although I do that. On the Dark Souls streams. But yeah, this is me saying hi to Arya and Nora.
Oh, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? I'm just grabbing my notes here. By the way, we were a little bit late in the Gold Plus Roundup. I forgot to tell you this. I scheduled it to go out, and apparently it didn't save my scheduling, so that video is out now, a little bit later than we previously wanted. But surprise, Kevin, that I didn't tell you that right before the show. I meant to. But oh well, it's out. No, it's not too late. We're gonna start this week. We talk about gaming news every single week. If you've never watched us before, if you've never listened to us before, we ramble a lot, but we also talk about gaming news, as you can tell by our lovely T-shirts. So first up, we're gonna talk about the backwards compatible games, because Xbox keeps pumping out these backwards compatible games, and and what we got, thankfully, is Silent Hill, which is awesome. Silent Hill HD Collection is now backwards compatible, and also Silent Hill Homecoming. I played all the games within the Silent Hill collection. I never played Homecoming though, so I'll have to look at that. This is Homecoming.
Yeah, I know that there's one that's like kind of an off-brand, like somebody else did it, but I don't remember which one that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because I know that Resident Evil has some offshoots. Silent Hill has a couple of offshoots of like different styles of gameplay. Yeah. And so I'm guessing that Homecoming is one of those. Either that or it's a Spider-Man crossover.
I think so. Which
one of those.
Did you see? You mentioned Homecoming. They leaked the title for
Far From
Spider-Man.
Home.
Yeah.
Because he's just adorably clumsy.
I think
he's like, hey, no spoilers, but this is what I'm working on. And they're like,
I think he's doing it on purpose because like no one's reprimanded him or gotten mad. There's been like talk behind the scenes, like Mark Ruffalo, they took him aside after his interviews. Like Kevin Feige and other people were like, look, you've been doing this a while. I don't know if you're just tired or what, but you can't keep saying stuff. And they haven't done that with Tom Holland, which I would think that they would. By the way, if we have a countdown on Tom Holland's clock, if you didn't know this, he has 2 more movies to go and then he's out.
What?
He has Spider-Man 2. Holland. He has Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Avengers 4, and then he has to renegotiate his contract.
I can understand that because he was kind of an unknown quantity.
His contract is tied to Sony's contract to Marvel.
Gotcha.
Meaning when Sony gets the rights back.
Yeah.
After those movies, Sony has the rights to Spider-Man movies again.
So even as the X-Men and the Avengers come closer together, Spider-Man is possibly being ripped away.
Yes.
That's right.
And rumor is that Sony is going to, if they haven't already, that Sony has been contacting Holland and saying, we want you, when we do start doing Sony Spider-Man movies, we do want you to be our Spider-Man.
Okay.
Which I would appreciate. I like that consistency.
Yeah.
But Sony has just butchered so much of the Spider-Man franchise that I just don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, I don't trust them.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it renegotiates, because Marvel has to renegotiate the contract with Sony. It's not just an actor, because people are like, oh well, Chris Evans and so, and they're always up for renegotiation. Yes, but Marvel has to negotiate with Sony in order to even continue using Spider-Man, because otherwise Spider-Man's going to have to just go away or die, and I don't want either one of those things. I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is like the negotiations and the process of getting Spider-Man into that universe was literal years in the making. Like we knew they were talking about it. It was confirmed after the Sony email leak.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't it was still 3 years later before we actually got Spider-Man into a movie.
Yep.
That wasn't just Spider-Man. And
which is why everyone's saying when it comes to X-Men and when it comes to Fantastic Four that it's going to be 2 or 3 years before we see them hit the Marvel universe.
And that's fine.
Other rumor, though, and then I'll be finished with movie rumors because this is geeky stuff, so I figured this would be good. The other rumor is that they are doing the New Mutants TV show, which is fine.
Really? Okay.
Yes, but the rumor is that even though they're done filming, that they're going to scrap. They're going to scrap the latest X-Men movie that's coming out, the Dark Phoenix movie. Is just going to be completely just deleted.
Okay.
Because they don't want to confuse
so much more now.
Because one, apparently it wasn't very good, and two, they want to get those properties into Marvel without being confusing, where it's like, oh, we got an X-Men movie. Wait, now the X-Men are showing up here the next year or something. So the other thing is I've read alleged leaked of synopsis, and it sounds like X-Men 3. It's very much X-Men 3, which I don't want. I didn't like that. I mean X-Men 3 Last Stand. It's almost the same plot. It's almost the same plot, except they do go into space. But other than that, like it's downplayed on the Phoenix entity. They go into space, but that's like the very beginning, and then the rest is basically like X-Men Last Stand. So if that's true, delete. Just delete. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, back to some gaming news. We got the Games with Gold was announced for August, the free games for Xbox, coming up, starting out with Forza Horizon 2, which I've played. I feel like I've played this. For some reason, I feel like I've played this, but they all kind of blend together.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. I played quite a few Forza games, quite a few racing games, obviously, but Forza games are better. Yeah.
Horizon. Okay. Do you have a preference on Forza versus Horizon? Like, because those are two separate franchises. Like, one of them deals more with like the road races. Yeah. And the other one's more with tracks.
Yeah, I prefer the road races, and that's why I like Horizon. And if I'm not mixing them up,
Horizon 2 is the most recent Horizon game is actually 3. Because the Forza series is up to like 7 or 8 or something. So this is a fairly recent game. And then, like I said, they're going to be bringing out Horizon 4 before too long. So I see this as a very positive. Like, as far as racing games go, sometimes we do get frustrated with how many racing games we end up playing. In particular, the Dirt series. Was popping up a lot for a while, and that was kind of rough. But Horizon 2 is, in my opinion, a quality offering from them.
Yes, yeah.
And the other offering. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, actually, all the offerings I'm actually really looking forward to for different reasons.
For Honor is one that they've been, as I understand it, as someone who's only played a couple of minutes of this game. It's one of those titles, and we're gonna actually hear a little bit more about this later on in the show. But this is a game that came out to lukewarm reception, and then they listened to the fans. They kept into it. This game, Rainbow Six Siege, and No Man's Sky, which will be our topic a little bit later, are 3 titles that came out. And right when they came out, they were not that great, but they kept working with them. They kept pumping into them. They kept improving them consistently and substantially. And so, as I understand it, For Honor is a much better game. So even if you played it when it first came out and then gave it to GameStop or whatever, I would say sell, but you don't really get enough to really count as selling, in my opinion.
I mean, I'd sell it if you have the digital copy already. I mean, you could sell it, or you could just leave it just to have it just in case. But I'm actually going through all of my physical copies of games that I got digitally for free, and selling the physical ones because I have a stack of I think 12 games.
Yeah, Christian has my copy of Demon Souls because at one point that was free for Plus.
Oh really? I didn't even realize it was free. I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure I have it then.
It was a long time ago.
Okay, hopefully I have it then.
Before we did this show.
Before we did the show, it maybe not though, because it's one of the reasons I started doing this. We also got Dead Space 3, which I mean, I will admit I love Dead Space. Dead Space 3 is not that great in comparison. I don't think that it's a bad game, but it's right when we started getting the start of really bad microtransactions and everyone getting upset about that. Also, the plot wasn't very good.
Okay. And then the last one we have is Epic Mickey 2, which has Mickey, and then what's the other guy's name?
Oswald.
Yeah. Which I think is a really fun throwback to the history of Disney because there's different eras of Disney, like there's different eras of Saturday Night Live, but this is like almost before it really became Disney, when it was just an up and comer.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the name of it was with another company, and then I can't remember the name of the company, but Walt created it with Bob Iwerks. Bob Iwerks created Mickey Mouse, and because Walt, I'll back up for a second. Basically, they created Oswald. And the company, and then they were like, "Oh, we're going to do our own Oswald movies," and the company was like, "No, we own that. You were just you're just writing stuff. We're gonna keep doing that character." And then that's when Walt said, "All right, I'm going to start my own business." It's the whole Bender thing. I want to start my own my own my own delivery service with blackjack and hookers. Like, actually, you know what? Screw the delivery service. Yeah, basically he was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own company and I'm going to create my own character. And he wanted to create something like Oswald, and he created Mickey Mouse. Now the story of Mickey Mouse, though, very quickly is very similar to Spider-Man's story. You know about the creation of Spider-Man, right? Because we were talking about Spider-Man earlier. I don't know if you you know about how he was created. Stan Lee was creating all these characters, and he had the idea of a spider. He was like, spiders scare people. Let's make a person who has spider powers but isn't scary. That's it. That's all he had. He goes over to Steve Ditko and he's like, "I want to make a Spider-Man," and he was like, "Don't make him scary, but I want a Spider-Man." And then Steve Ditko was like, "Oh, cool. So I'm gonna make him look like this. He's gonna be blue and red, and he's gonna be this. He's gonna be a teenage kid, whatever." And then Stan's like, "That's great." And then he started writing it. Stan didn't really invent Spider-Man.
I knew that it was Steve, and that was one of the reasons that he passed fairly recently, and that was. Basically, what I know that he worked with Marvel, and that he is the true creator of Spider-Man.
Yes. Similarly, but Stan always claims Spider-Man is his. He used to claim, back in the 90s, he used to claim that Captain America was his, and people were like, Jack Kirby did that before you started working in comics. He did that when you were in the war. But similarly, Disney was creating, he was like, "I want a new cartoon character, and I guess it should be a mouse, because we did a rabbit, let's do a mouse." And it was going to be Mortimer Mouse. And his wife was like, "That's stupid. You call him Mickey." Call him Mickey. And she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll call him Mickey." Awesome. And iWorks created and designed Mickey. And when the two of them started fighting about it years later, iWorks left. He was pissed because he's like, "You're not even giving me credit for creating Mickey Mouse," because this is when Mickey Mouse was just blowing up. iWorks left, and when he ended up coming back because he's amazingly talented, Walt asked him to come back, and iWorks was like, "Okay, if I come back, I get complete control of whatever I do. I'm not doing what I used to do. I'm going to be an Imagineer," which is the people who design the concepts, right? His first project he came back for was Mary Poppins. And he was responsible for the integration of live action and cartoons. The man was a genius.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's a genius, and he didn't get. He also was responsible for some stuff in the parks as well, and he is not given credit for it because Disney wants to keep up the just like Stan wants to keep the persona of like, no, I'm the creator. It's
I made all the things.
It's like, no, you didn't.
By the way,
yeah.
If you're watching this, I want us to, as a collective, appreciate that Stan Lee impression because that was great. Not gonna lie, that was great.
I thought about cosplaying as him. I thought that'd be fun. I think.
So how long do you work on that?
I've never worked on it before, but
Really?
I have been thinking about cosplaying as him.
That would be fun.
Get get the gray hair, get the big glasses,
Right.
and if I cosplay as him now, then I need like a scooter, like an electric scooter. But
Yeah, but I mean, like that.
I don't even think I need it. I just hunch over and just yell at people.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. It'd be
So
fun.
anyway, as you can probably tell, there's not a whole lot of gaming news this week. We've got some rumors. We've got some rumors around Xbox Scarlett. We're going to talk a little bit about No Man's Sky next. But as far as actual news, we do have one massive piece of news about which I am incredibly excited. Guacamelee 2 is coming August 21st. So we have less than a month to wait until Guacamelee 2. And I cannot wait. Guacamelee was outstanding. The DLC was exceptional. This has up to 4-player local co-op, and we have 3 controllers at the house. So I'm going to get to play this with the girls.
That's
we're going to
cool.
beat this together, and we're all going to be chickens.
And that's totally a game, like you said, that is totally a game that they could play, that they will get so much out of. There's some games that they may not, but I think the Guacamelee is that good balance. It's not too hard. It's just challenging enough that they'll get a good amount out of it, yeah.
The platforming, I don't think that it gets enough appreciation for the actual platforming, because most of the people, when they talk about it, they talk about the combat or whatever, and the combat is really, really good. But like the platforming towards the end is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's got the instant restart from like Super Meat Boy and stuff, and we are huge fans of instant restarts. If you're going to give us tough platforming, but then let us respawn. And so it'll be a thing where you have to do 5, 6, 7 jumps in a row. And one of my favorite moments in Guacamelee. Did you beat the first one?
I did not. I got halfway through it. I mean, it's great. It's great. I just got busy.
Okay, so there's one of the. It might even be the last skill you get is the ability to hang onto a wall and then just launch yourself off of it. Nice. And so right at the end, as you're going into the final fortress, it tries to give you a scope of that. So you take off of the wall, and then every second and a half, it zooms out. And so you've got this view, and then it comes out, and then it just shows you're just going miles across this thing, and you're just this little tiny character zooming across
awesome.
The terrain, and then you actually get to the thing. So the comedy, the combat, the dialogue, the platforming, everything about the first one was really, really fantastic. And from what I can tell, it just looks like more Guacamelee. One thing. This is one of the first times that Drinkbox has kind of gone back to the same material, because they did Mutant Blob's Attack, and then they did Guacamelee, and then they did Severed. Those are 3 completely different games, very different art style. There's some similarities between Severed and Guacamelee as far as art style is concerned, but one is
your assets are not the same, your gameplay's not the same, your engine's not the same.
And Drinkbox is consistently amazing with being able to just come up with these crazy ideas. And so I'm really hoping. I am grateful and looking forward to playing more Guacamelee. But after that, I hope they go and just give me something that I never expected.
Yeah.
So that's coming out in less than a month, $20.
Speaking of things that I never expected, Salt and Sanctuary is probably one of those, which you loved.
I love, yes. And I'll be this is one of those games that I will be picking up again on the Switch, despite having put many, many hours. Okay, so Salt and Sanctuary, Binding of Isaac, and Cosmic Star Heroine are ones that that I would in many situations consider myself done with, because I put plenty of time into. I explored the game. I checked out everything that was in there. But then it comes to the Switch, and like it's a little bit bigger, a little bit prettier, and the fact that I can take it with me, again, is like yes, because at some point I'm just gonna sit there and be like, you know what, I like shooting a bunch of poops and things in a basement, but right now I just want to hack some stuff with a sword. So I do, and so August 2nd, just like a week or two.
Yeah, I think that's what's proving people. I know there are a lot of people on the internet who are not happy with the Switch because there's so many ports that are coming to it, but I don't think it can be understated how amazing it is to take these games with you. I'm going to Europe actually a week from today. I will be in Amsterdam, and I cannot tell you how cool it is that I'm going there. I'm bringing my Switch, and I'm bringing my case that has all my games in it, so I can play Zelda, I can play Skyrim, I can play whatever I want. Am I going to be playing it very much? Probably not that much, but plane, airport, there's times that I definitely could be using it.
Absolutely.
And to be able to take this on the go and not to be stifled where I'm playing games that are lesser. Because 10 years ago, your portable games were always the lesser version of the main stock. Like Kingdom Hearts is a great example of that. You had Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and then you had the offshoot games that people like me were like, I can't bear to play that. I'm good. I'll skip it. I like Kingdom Hearts. I'm going to skip it. Same thing with Zelda games. I played the console Zelda games, and people were like, hey, this new game is out on DS. I'm like, I couldn't care less. I really, oh, Phantom Hourglass. I'm like, I love Zelda, but I can't, I have to take it with me, but I know.
Okay, whoever told you that Phantom Hourglass, no. It's better than Spirit Tracks, I'll give you that. But Phantom Hourglass.
I was just trying to think of a mobile one. Four Swords, and there's others as well. But these games are coming out, and then what was it? Link to the Past. Link to the Past. It was out on
Between Worlds. You mean?
No. So Link Between Worlds was the first time that I bit the bullet and said, you know what, I'm going to do this.
And it was absolutely worth it.
And it was great.
That game was quality.
But Link to the Past came out on. I think it was like on Game Boy Advance or something, right? Because it was on Super Nintendo, and then it came out again on a mobile platform, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And I was like, "I know, but I just want to play it." But now being able to have both, like, it cannot be understated how playing something.
Overstated.
It can't be overstated. How amazing it is to play a game like Skyrim or anything else. To be playing it, to play Doom or anything else is amazing. My drawback to not mobile gaming, portable games was always I'm gonna have to pause, I'm gonna have to do my thing, and then come back to it. And sometimes it gets you in and out of a flow. And in this case, the flow is great. You can go back and play it on your big screen. It's just amazing. What also is amazing?
We love our Switches.
What's also amazing, I hope at least, is Fallout 76.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting a beta for this. If you didn't know, if you pre-order the game, then you're part of their Break It beta, early beta stuff. But there is a beta coming out that's going to come out. Where is this? October.
We don't have specifics on platforms or anything like that. Presumably, this is going to be October, and it's going to be on all the platforms on which you could pre-order it, but they haven't given a whole lot about it. This is also butting right up against the actual release, so I feel like that this is going to be more of a server test than an actual game test. I think that basically what you get in the beta, minus whatever restrictions they put on it, is going to be the final product.
Yeah, and if they and I'm assuming that part of this is kind of a quasi backlash to the news that. The only way to get into the beta previously was if you pre-ordered. So I'm assuming that they're doing this to say, hey, okay, that's early access beta. We're going to also let you be in beta in October, which is great because I'm a huge Fallout fan. Obviously, I love Fallout 4. I love New Vegas. New Vegas is still probably my favorite, but I want to play this game, but at the same time, I don't know if it's going to fit. I don't know if it's going to be for me. It's probably going to be a good game. I don't know if it's going to be for me. Also,
I mean, you're also a huge Elder Scrolls fan, but Elder Scrolls Online is just a completely different experience.
But it's made by a different company.
Well, New Vegas was also made by a different company.
But it was awesome. And that was actually I played Fallout 3. I played Fallout 3 on a modded console. We'll just say that. And I was like, I had a ton of games to choose from, and I was like, I heard this is really good, but I can't get into the gameplay. And then played New Vegas like within 3 or 4 months of trying Fallout 3. And New Vegas is so much better. Fallout 4, I think, is not as good as New Vegas in regards to story. I know that the gameplay mechanics are better, but the story is so much better. The environment is so much better in Fallout New Vegas. So that's just my opinion about it, though.
Okay, so the last we have is kind of some analysis of kind of some interesting things that are happening in the sphere of gaming right now, and then we'll finish off with a couple of Xbox rumors.
Yes.
and No Man's Sky Next, which came out this past week, which is a new game for Xbox, but it's just a patch, like a free patch for everybody who already owned No Man's Sky.
Yes.
And I really, really appreciate how Hello Games did this, because when No Man's Sky first came out, it was not what was promised. They had aimed really high, and they didn't tell anybody that they hadn't reached those heights yet.
Yes. And
people were furious over this. And Hello Games, do you know about the Culling and the Culling 2 about a month ago?
No.
Okay, so the Culling was kind of a battle royale game that focused on melee weapons, and so there was a lot of hand-to-hand combat and stuff, and like it was getting fairly regular patches, but there were still a lot of issues with it. And then without a lot of heads up, instead of fixing the issues in the Culling, the developer just released the Culling 2, and it had the fix. It was the same game, but with all the fixes. And he was like, "Yeah, you can just buy the game again." And people were really pissed about that. And he actually unpublished the Culling 2, threw the stuff back into the Culling because it was just a patch.
Yeah, that's
not right. That is not treating your customers right. But what Hello Games did is I mean, they were getting death threats over this. And like, okay, we are all passionate about games.
Yes.
Do not threaten anyone with death, especially over video games.
Don't threaten them. Don't attack them personally. Have a discussion. Yeah. If you don't like something, when we talked about this with Guild Wars 2, if you don't like something, have a discussion about it. Hash it out. Honestly, some of those uncomfortable discussions and being brutally honest are what's needed, because sometimes people are in an echo chamber. And the feedback that we have through the internet is such a great thing, except when it gets into crappy stuff like that, like trolls and ad hominem attacks. Yeah.
And so the version of No Man's Sky that Xbox players are now getting, and everybody else who had the game, and I put this out on Twitter, but my prediction is that No Man's Sky is going to be on PlayStation Plus at some point, because they were really hyped about the game, and then when it actually came out, they went, that's not exactly what we thought it was going to be. But Hello Games really just buckled down, and over the past 2 years, they have added in the things that they wanted to do, and basically they made bank at the beginning of the game based on the hype. And you know, they started getting death threats and all these things, and people were like, "This is not the game you promised," and they retreated from social media for most of this time, and just kept on working on it. Like, they were in the forums, they were talking to the community, they were adding the things that had been promised, slowly, a little bit at a time. And the game now, according to I haven't played either version, but I've been looking at it pretty closely, and the version now has space combat, has multiplayer, has base building, has big quests that you can get from like space stations, and like there's a multitude of things that some of which were promised, some of which were implied, some of which were just features that people thought would be there, but they have really gone back, and they have hammered out this game to become they used the funds from all the hype to meet the hype.
And I really appreciate that they did that instead of pulling a Molyneux and creating No Man's Sky 2, which has the stuff that was supposed to be in No Man's Sky 1. Because Fable and Peter Molyneux are like renowned for this, where he over promised, under delivered, and then the next game ended up having the features that he wanted in the first one. We're in a day and age now where you can just patch that shit though, and that's what I do appreciate that they're like, yeah, we screwed up here. I wish they hadn't overpromised, and I'm hoping this shows things that you cannot do in the 20 teens, right? It's 2000s that we may have been able to pull that off. People could have forgotten. People don't forget that stuff now. You've got easy access to video, Twitter, everything. Sorry, you can't get away with that anymore. We got some news in regards to loot boxes as well.
We talked last week about Shadow of War dropping loot boxes, but Forza has also said that with their summer update they're going to be removing, I don't know that system, but they removed the microtransactions that were in there. They were cosmetic, but they've simply said, well, now you can just earn it and have fun with that. And then Dota 2 also released a thing. You can only buy one loot box per day or per match or something, but it actually shows you what you're getting in the box.
Correct.
So it's I think that's cool. And then
well, you can choose to get it or wait the next day. I think there's like a refresh on it or something like that people figured out.
And so you can check and be like, no thanks. I'll wait till tomorrow. And then Psyonix is publishing the Rocket League percentages, which is something that is actually a law in some countries.
Yes.
And so they're saying, okay, here's your actual odds of getting various things. And the last one is Battlefield 5, which has said no microtransactions, no extra anything, you just get this stuff.
Which is great. I mean, that's great for the individual gamer. It's great for the average gamer. When you have microtransactions taking over in a way that is unhealthy, Fortnite has obviously exploded and everything. But I don't know if you've heard this from anyone, but there have been a growing number of parents who are posting and commenting and creating videos who are like, Fortnite's blowing, not the normal like Fortnite's taking over my kid thing, which yes, every time something comes like this, World of Warcraft, whatever. Yeah. But I've seen multiple posts, multiple videos where parents who are not gamers, or parents who are gamers, are like, my kid is spending money on this, or they're asking for their allowance to spend money on this microtransactions, and even though they know what they're getting, they're teaching kids the wrong thing about value in regards to spending. I think I mentioned this on the podcast last week or the week before. The average average person has spent $87 on Fortnite.
Goodness.
Average. I've spent nothing on Fortnite. I know other people who've spent nothing on Fortnite. There are other people who have spent nothing on Fortnite because I don't care. About what I look like, and in fact, people if they see me with the default skin, they don't think I'm very good. I'm not very good, but that also bluffs them. My nephew's doing that now. He's like, oh yeah, this is this. I can't remember what he called it. He came up with some term for it, but he's essentially bluffing them. He's like, I use the default skin so people don't know. Yeah, like don't know that I'm good. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I do that anyways because I don't spend money on that. So he's spent allowance. He's been mowing lawns, whatever. He spends money on Fortnite. I'm like, go to GameStop and grab some games for dirt cheap. There's so many other ways you could spend your money. We need to make sure that this generation understands that digital currency, digital purchases are. You need to have some type. If you spend $80, $100 on Fortnite, they can just shut off the servers. Yeah. And
the other thing is that, like one of the things that I do to keep myself aware of how much money I'm spending is I try to pay for a lot of stuff with cash. because it's when I hand over money and I get my change back, it hits a different part of my brain, I feel like. And when it comes to like digital purchases and microtransactions, and you see 99 cents, $4.99, whatever, and you just click and you're done.
Yeah.
And then you're instantly playing with the thing.
I would agree.
There can be a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And so we need to be cognizant of what we're spending and versus what we're getting.
No, I agree.
And the gambling mentality being taught to children who, to some extent, don't have, and this is not meant to be insulting, but they don't have the mental faculties to put that into a full context.
They don't understand economics, macroeconomics. No.
Right. And because because they have less experience with money. Like I'll tell my girls, you know, we pay, and I'm comfortable sharing this on the air. I'll be like, well, you know, we need to pay because our house payment is almost $1,100. And they're like, $1,100? How do you afford that? And I'm like, well, I work.
That's why we work.
Yeah. And this is how that goes. And so they're starting to kind of understand, okay, so, you know, I can save up and I can get this thing, or they'll be like, I can buy this for $1. That's a very small amount of money. And like they're looking at it in a personal economic standpoint.
Sure.
And I feel that it's important to teach them that, and also to teach them that microtransactions, that's still money that you're spending. And it's not just
is it worth it? Is it worth it in a year, in 2 years? Which I mentioned this before on the podcast, but I'm going to get a firm prediction, because I know I mentioned this before, mentioned it in passing, but I said it last week, and my brother was like, "You're crazy." Fortnite will have crashed one way or another within a year and a half or 2 years. There will be something else that has taken over the zeitgeist, and Fortnite will no longer be the thing. And you have people who are playing it professionally on YouTube and stuff. It's like, I was trying to use that as a teaching moment with my nephew to say, that's not sustainable. Because he's like, he wants to be a professional Fortnite player when he grows up. And I was telling him that people who are doing that right now, in probably a year and a half or 2 years, they're not going to have a job. They're going to have to find another game to play.
Find something else, yeah.
But that means they have to relearn a skill set. So if you are the best player in Fortnite, like Ninja or whoever, then you better relearn a new skill set. Or your personality is the thing, which that may work. But these people are riding waves. You're riding a wave like PewDiePie did, like Boogie. Boogie did the same thing, and now he's sustaining and he's cultivating an audience after he gathered it. He's making sure that it sustains and everything. But I was telling him, you can't, being a professional gamer, it's like you have a better chance of being a professional singer than being a professional gamer, because that's a skill set. Gaming, you have so many different games that can come out. So he wants to be a professional Fortnite player in like 11 years. Like, I don't think the game is, that's not like, dude, you're 8 years, sorry, not 11 years, 9 years, whatever. He's 10. So I'm like, no, that's not going to be a thing. So Fortnite's not, when I said in front of my family, I'm like, Fortnite is not going to be the popular game in a year and a half or 2 years. So all your digital transactions and everything aren't going to really matter. And there's going to be another game that everyone's going to be playing. And that's okay. That's good. And my brother's like, you're crazy. Fortnite's everywhere. They got Fortnite hoodies. I'm like, yeah, they do. But Friday Nights at Freddy's used to be the big thing. Mm-hmm. And they're not making money anymore.
And
Angry Birds used to be the thing.
The big thing, kind of the outlier on this is outliers, I guess. Grand Theft Auto 5 and Minecraft. Both of those games have a wide variety of activities that you can do in them. Like people are making like calculators and machines within Minecraft.
Yeah.
Fortnite is a very set thing, and yes, it's going to be a little bit different every time, and there's slight differences. And I'm still playing Binding of Isaac, so I'm very aware that you can do the same thing over and over, and it's still entertaining.
But how can you hold a population of that many millions of people?
Yeah.
how you
eventually
hold
they're going to want to do something else.
Yeah, their attention span's going to go somewhere else. So that's what I was saying about that. Anyways, on to other topics. I know we could continue to talk about this kind of stuff a lot. We got some recent rumors about the new Xbox.
Yes.
So Project Scarlett, as the rumor has it.
I do feel confident about Scarlett. Scarlett is the code name that's come from enough credible sources. But kind of the rumor bit around it is that at Gamescom they're going to be showing off. They said new hardware. That doesn't necessarily mean a new console, but this is something that will be revealed there or soon, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the big piece of news, at least from what I'm hearing, is that they're going to have 2 different SKUs for it, and one will be an entirely streaming box, one without an optical drive, where just everything's digital, and then they do a good chunk of much of the processing will be handled off somewhere else.
I'm gonna say something that you're gonna be surprised by. I'm tempted, depending on the specs, depending on everything. This may be the first time that when a console comes out that I buy both. One, to try them both.
I am surprised.
One, to try them both out, because I want to see if I'm playing this game here, what's it like? If I'm playing this game here, what's it like? I'm streaming. I think I sent you a polo about this recently. In the back end of things, when you're talking about streaming Netflix or Hulu or video games, it's all just packets. Now you have loss, which means that the packets just never got there. You have jitter, which means that they're not coming in sequence. Buffer is a delay that makes sure that they can catch up and go, okay, now I put them back together. And then you have latency. Latency is just the speed of light. If I am here in Florida and the server I'm playing off of is in Los Angeles, there is certain latency, right? Depending on and crappy internet connections make that worse. That's what I'm worried about with this, is how it's not just your connection, but it's all of the connections in between, and they're having to send you're having to send your key presses back to that server to say, hey, he shot that NPC. And if there's a delay between when I fired and when they got the packet, and now the NPCs moved slightly, I missed.
Yeah. So there's I can't remember if it might have been Ars Technica, but basically what they think could have happened is this has been kind of the holy grail of streaming, and like once they get past this hurdle, they're doing well. And basically the idea is that on your system, they're going to your system processes hitboxes and collision and all those kind of things, and all your streaming is the graphics processing.
Okay.
And so the actual gameplay in a very rudimentary sense is still happening entirely on your system, and all that you're getting is the flavor and the looks of it.
Sure.
And so, because that was one of the things that they were talking about with Crackdown, which continues to be delayed because it's a ridiculously complicated process.
Yeah.
And if you can have the results streamed, while the actual immediate impact is something that's handled on the client side.
Yeah.
That's why they're saying if somebody's figured out how to do that,
yes,
then this can really work.
And I did read on that, and I'm curious if they're doing that. That means you have to create a way an easy way for every developer to develop that system. This is the client side, this is the server side, which means that Xbox would have to come up with a new way to say, here's your architecture hardware, here's software wise what we need you to do to make sure it works. Yeah,
and you're separating textures and all this kind of stuff, and put all that somewhere else, it's going to require a new type of programming.
And that, as much as I love owning my games. I love owning physical copies. I know Chris is even further along than I am on that.
Yes, he is.
But like I will buy digital. That's fine. I like having a physical copy though, just in case the servers go down for the current gen. Now that being said, PlayStation has not said this, but Xbox has said, and Phil Spencer said, everything moving forward will be backwards compatible throughout the years, no matter what, which means as long as Microsoft doesn't go bankrupt, or the Xbox brand doesn't go defunct, we're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to predict that, but I think we're pretty darn safe for at least 12 years at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, if not more. PlayStation's not giving you that comfort, right? So the next PlayStation may or may not have that. We don't know what they're working on. Xbox. I
feel like market pressure.
Yes.
Will say that it has to be because and because we're all moving forward on the x86 architecture rather than switching. Because I can appreciate that from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, the cell processing versus x86. I don't know a lot about it, but I understand that these are two different things, and so it would have to be.
It's a hurdle. It's a financial hurdle you have to program around. Yes, I agree. Yes. I agree. So if PlayStation,
forward, I feel like the PlayStation 5 has to be backwards compatible,
and if it does, that's wonderful. Xbox, I think Xbox, if they are doing that, right? If they're saying, "Hey, we're backwards compatible," so your Xbox One games on the Scarlett, whatever they're going to call it, right? And by the way, because they have talked about that being the Xbox family, they're trying to get away from the generation feel, the generation idea. But if they have a streaming Xbox, right, and they have a hardcore Xbox, some people are going to say, "Well, I already buy digital games, or I want to do the Game Pass-esque thing. I'll stream my games." Or if it streams games that you also purchased, so if I purchase it digitally, can I stream that game? That's wonderful. If that's the case, instead of it being like a subscription model, right? If it's just a box that has a subscription tied to it, I think it's going to be very limited, because then you're buying hardware that you then have to pay every month for.
Yeah.
Some people might not like that.
Games Pass is a substantial move towards that, because I don't know if you checked out the Games Pass offerings lately, but they are impressive.
Yes.
And this is very consumer friendly type stuff that they're doing right now.
Yeah.
And in rural areas, this is not an option. This is mostly for the coasts and like the big cities in the middle. Like
it would be rough here. It would be a little rough where I am right now. I mean, it's not great, but it's great for the cities, which, again, I like that they have these options, because if they said we're going all streaming, it would have been another Xbox One situation where people are like, that's not going to work for me.
And so what they said at that time is, we have a great system for you. It's called the Xbox 360. But if they actually have a great system for you and it's a new box, and they're supporting both, then at that point it's a viable option.
Yeah, because I think that what Xbox is doing right now is what Apple was trying to do with the Apple TV and the Apple Air and all that stuff, that they were trying to come out with their own video streaming process. But they also were like, hey, we got games too. And the games were very, very limited, very mobile, Android-esque kind of stuff. But the way that technology is moving, right? And I'm looking at an Amazon Fire Stick sitting on my on my desk. The way that technology is moving, I could see if they did this and it worked and it was successful and everything worked, everything was right, I could see in another, I'd say, I don't know, 6 or 8 years after that, I could see Xbox saying, hey, we also have a Microsoft TV, it's got it baked in. Because you can get an Amazon TV, which is a flat screen, high def 4K TV that has your Fire Stick esque qualities, right? You can do your voice controls, you can hit all your apps, everything. A lot of TVs already have all the apps anyways. Used to be you had to have another box for that. I had to explain it to my dad. He bought a new TV and he bought a new Blu-ray player. And I was like, why'd you buy a new Blu-ray player? He's like, well, he's got all these apps. It's like, your TV has those. You just bought a smart TV.
Yeah.
he has a setup that he wanted to do with it, whatever. But like, what I mean is like technology's moving so far. If you had a way where Xbox could be like, hey, we're just gonna make a TV with it, or we're gonna make a little streaming stick, pop that in your pocket, bring it on your trip with you. You go to a hotel, you pop that in. If you can just bring like a little stick to put in the HDMI and a controller, and you go on a business trip or wherever you're going on vacation, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
One of the other things that I think we have to remember about the way that technology moves, was I don't remember if it was the original Xbox or the 360 that Microsoft said we're just going to send this out. It's going to have an Ethernet port. We're doing high bandwidth only.
Yep.
We're not supporting 56K anymore. And a lot of people were like, but that's what I have.
Yeah.
Somebody has to lead the pack on that and has to make that step forward. And the infrastructure will have to keep up. And this is one of the things, like you're going to Europe. It is insane to me how far we as a country are behind on this. Like we're talking about how this streaming box is only going to work in the coastal areas and big cities and stuff. Even in those areas, we're still dealing with technology and infrastructure that is behind.
Yes.
So many areas. We're ahead of some countries, but the technology and the infrastructure needs to be built. And if Microsoft is pushing it forward and saying, look, get with the program, this is what's up, this is what people need, and pushing consumers and moving the market toward a higher a higher resolution, if you will, a higher standard, I guess is probably the best word, then I see this as not only consumer friendly, but it's something that's going to help more than just gamers. By moving technology forward and forcing companies that provide these services to advance.
The problem is how many telecom companies are in the mix on that.
Yep.
Over 50 big players. Not even the small ones. People are like, oh, Verizon, AT&T, whatever. You've got CenturyLink, Level 3, EXO, and a ton of others that are huge players. Actually, I'd say probably 12 to 15 big players, and then you got 50 who are responsible as well, and
who are chomping at the bit to be one of the bigger to move up. I will give you money.
Yeah,
give me the thing that I want.
The problem is the backbone's not there. The backbone's not there. No one wants to pay. No one wants to pay to increase. So my company, we do internet. Kinda. I mean, we'll do it if you want, but we're about an MPLS connection, so it's basically point-to-point connections for large companies and voice. So we can give you internet on the side too. That's fine. But our backbone of our company, runs at less than 40%, and the reason is if something fails, we need to move traffic from here all the way over here. We don't want to overload.
Yeah.
Verizon runs at 75 to 80%. On a good day. So then if something breaks, everyone moves over here and there's not enough bandwidth for everyone to use.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Their bandwidth, their backbone's not ready for it, and every company needs to step it up. You were talking about like Europe. I'm going to be on a river cruise going around Germany and Amsterdam. We got a package. It's like everything's included on this. That's different for European cruises. They're just like, no, you paid for it. It's expensive, but it's like you get excursions, you get everything you want. You get drinks, you get alcohol, whatever you want. You get Wi-Fi. It's 100 meg connection.
Yeah,
100 meg connection on a boat.
Yep,
it's a better connection than I have at my house because of my ISP where I am does not offer over 75. Yeah. So I either had to go with this or I had to go with satellite. So there's areas that like you're limited, but in Europe you're like, oh, you're on a boat, 100 meg connection, that's fine. Like it's just insane.
So yeah, we've been rambling a lot. Like I said, there's only a little bit of news this weekend. But let us know in the comments what your connection options are, what your speed is, and what you're hoping for, how much you pay, all that kind of stuff. Because I would love to. Okay, there are companies where they say, don't talk about how much you get paid. That benefits them. Tell us this information. Let's share this information, and then we'll yell at the companies that aren't supporting and boosting up
in regards to how much your bandwidth. Yeah, don't tell us how much you're getting paid. No, but tell us what your bandwidth. Tell us what your bandwidth latency. Like how you doing? How you doing? Like that wise, not money wise. How you doing on bandwidth? And we'll check you out later.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that, and gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.